Hi everyone, this is a short video about painting the Dogpool figure. I'll show the key stages of the paint job and explain in more detail how I prepared the 3D model for printing.
Love, can't you hear when I call? Can't you hear what I say?
A bit about me. I've been into figure painting for about 3 years now. Yes, videos don't come out as often as I'd like, but that's because this is just a hobby for me.
Hey there, Pixel Punk. You thought this was just another painting tutorial? Nope, you just stumbled into a video about painting Dogpool. Yeah, it's a dog in a red suit. And no, you're not tripping. No explosions, no Jackman, just me and an uncomfortably intense passion for mini painting. So watch till the end or I'll find you and make you paint with your left foot in lotus pose. Subscribe, hit like, don't be like Francis, let's go.
And I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who supports me, with subscriptions, likes and views. Your support motivates me to keep making these videos. If you are new here, welcome. And as Deadpool said, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. By the way, if you're interested, I could record a vlog, tell more about myself and show where and how I work. Let me know in the comments if it sounds interesting. Now, enjoy the video. Here it's all classic. Sanding with whatever tools I have. Rotary tool, sandpaper, sanding sponges and the like. To keep all the dust from flying into my face, I use a nail dust collector and just plain water. Let me explain how I prepare the model for printing. First, I scale it to the required size. You can check the dimensions in different ways, with real size reference cubes made in CAD software or by measuring directly in Blender or other 3D tools. As for the magnets, either I measure them or go by standard sizes listed when buying. But just cutting a hole for a magnet isn't a good idea. Plastic shrinks during printing and it might not fit. So I increase the magnet diameter by about 10% and the height by 20-30%, so it fits easily and sits slightly recessed. Then it's simple. Duplicate the magnet, place it where needed, and use a Boolean operation to subtract the hole. Same approach for pegs, used instead of magnets, or paint handles. Finally, I export the model and manually add supports in another program. And that's it, the model is ready to print. Back to the printed figure. I check the holes. The magnet should fit without force and not stick out. If everything aligns, I glue them in place. The main thing is not to mess up the polarity or the parts will repel each other. I only use magnets for large components. Everything else just glued together. And now the figure is assembled and ready for painting. Before painting, I always degrease the surface. Usually I just rinse the parts under warm water with soap. Then I fix the elements on skewers or holders. It's more convenient to apply primer and paint without touching the model with my hands. In this video I also briefly show my new spray booth with a dry filter. The housing is 3D printed and the models were taken from a channel by another miniature painter. Link in the description. Big thanks to him for such a convenient solution. The fans and the filter are store-bought. Everything fits together easily and works great. After setting up the airbrush, I pour in the primer. I'm using Vallejo Grey primer, it works great as a base for darker colors I'll be using next. Also, this grey primer has been sitting on the shelf for a while, so it's time to finally put it to use. Now onto painting. The main color, unsurprisingly, is red, which I apply as a base coat. I added some subtle highlights and shadows to give the model more depth. For the texture bumps on Dogpool's suit, I used the black wash, it shaded the crevices nicely and made the texture pop. Before applying the black color, I carefully mask the areas that should remain red. Thin tape goes around the edges, larger areas are covered with wider tape. And for the small details, I use liquid mask. It gives cleaner and more reliable results. Moving on to the black color, large areas are painted with the airbrush, fast and even coverage. For smaller details, I use a brush, it's quicker and more precise. I have noticed that many creators who make painted figures for video content often prefer brushes for speed, but I personally like using the airbrush, it gives cleaner and smoother results. And a bit of pastel, the best part of working on this figure was not stressing over perfection, I just went with the flow. So I quickly worked over the skin with pastels, about 15 minutes and done. Final assembly, as mentioned earlier, magnets are only used for the larger parts, the rest is glued. The model is split into lots of small parts to allow for larger printing, but even at this small scale it wasn't an issue. Still, one of the best models I've come across online. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment about what you liked and what could be improved. I put effort into each video for every single viewer.
That's all I ask, and that is all. I wanna spread my wings, but I just can't fly. As a string of words and pretty girls go sailing.